And welcome back. Let's go ahead and deep dive a little bit more into how we can use JavaDoc to create helpful comments and stuff like that for our program. So I'm going to continue working off of the computer class that we had started in our previous lesson and build out some more comments here. So of course we have some of these here, so I'm just going to go ahead and copy some of these here so we can add in our other accessor methods here. So I'm going to start with these, and I'm just going to update these. Instead of being computer name, let's be computer type. And this one was computer OS. And instead of the PC name, we'll say the PC type. And we'll say the PC operating. How about we just say the operating system? Okay. Now those of course handles our accessor methods. What about this mutator method down here? Well, again, I'm going to do the same thing, /*, hit enter. And we do have a param that pops up this time. But before we do that, let's just put our value of what we want this to do. So it says set computer equal to. So this is a method to set a PC. It's a computer object equal to the values of another computer object. And what is our param? You notice it automatically filled this as @param PC, so it's looking for a PC, and we can add a description of type computer. All right, and that's again just an easy way just to add some more information in there. Down here we have a toString method, so let's just go ahead and put in this is our toString method. And let's go back up here to our constructors. We can add in more information about this. And again, you can see when I hit enter, it automatically populated in here 3 more @params here. So we have @PC name, @PC type, @PC OS. So this is a parameterized constructor that takes in the following parameters. Okay, and let's just add some information. So what is a PC name? So what is the PC type? Example, so name of the computer object, type of the computer object, and we can input some example in here, laptop, desktop, etc. And let's just say operating system of the computer object. And it gives us some information. We do have one other one down here. Here's our other set computer. So this is another mutator method. And so this one we can actually, I'm going to copy this to a little bit. Method to set a computer object. And let's add that right here. Set method to computer object to the defined parameters below. All right. And so now that gives me some good information here to go ahead and build up a good JavaDoc. Now, one thing you'll notice though is we didn't do anything here with our private modifiers, because again, with information encapsulation and hiding, I don't want these private modifiers to be something that a programmer could come in and access, which is fine. So let's go ahead and come up here to the start of our program and add in some more information. So for example, I can put @author, and you can see when I type that in, it automatically adds in. I'm just going to go ahead and bring up the @here symbol real quick, just to go ahead and let you see some of the other tags that we have in here. So for example, you can see we have a whole bunch of different things that it is suggesting could be put in here at the top of my program. So for example, I could put @version. And what that will do is say, hey, what is the version of this code? And this is a great way to say, hey, this is, for example, version 1.0, or if you have 0.1 or something like that. Great way if you are doing, let's say, updates to your program code, you can go ahead and run this. And so if I were to put my Java documentation and have version 1.0 here, and say that's the first version of this code, no problem. But then I later say, you know what, I realize I need more things here, like, oh, I don't have an equals method, and that comes out in version 1.0. In your Java documentation, you're going to see that version number there, which is going to make it real helpful for you to know, are you using the most recent version of the code? Because, for example, older versions could have bugs that you may have to address. But let's go ahead and run this as a Java documentation. We'll go project, and we're going to generate JavaDoc again. And I'm going to keep the exact same thing here. We're just going to double check, make sure it did not pull in beep boop, which it didn't. So there's computer again. We're going to write to that same file path. So let's just hit finish here. So it's going to go ahead and build that up. And once it's done, we're saying we got 3 warnings. Okay, so those 3 warnings are there. We can always address those in our time. I think last time we had 6, probably because now we have a lot more things actually addressed here with our different identifiers. And so if we look at this here, of course, this is our old version of our Java documentation. So let's just give this a refresh here. And now you can see I have a lot more descriptions here. So now I have descriptions of what these methods are doing. I'm going to give you a quick tour of how to use this Java documentation to make your life a little bit more useful. For example, if you were using some Java code and you were like, hey, I found a class and I found some documentation, how do I use it? Well, for example, if I come here to this constructors, I can see the type of things that it is giving me. You'll also notice like when it says string, you'll see there's a little arrow that points out here. It says class or interface in java.lang. That's because what is string? It's a class, so it's referencing another class, and that's why it has the little arrow saying, hey, if you want to find out more about string, click this, and it'll actually take me out to the Java documentation on oracle.com here and give me more information about that string class. But if I want to dive a little deeper down here, if I look at, for example, my constructors, if I click on computer, which is my no-R constructor, click on that, it actually jumped me down to where computer is, and it'll actually give me more information about that. Same thing here if I go to my methods. If there's a method I want to know more about, you can see, for example, we have modifier and type. String, 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 void, 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 string. All right. Now this, of course, is our toString method, which you notice is not up here with our other methods because Java recognizes this as a special type of method. So we're putting that hit here, but here's our accessors and here's our mutators. So let's go ahead and just click on, for example, our get PC type. When I click on that, again, it's going to jump me straight down to that method. And again, because we did all that work with documentation, if I didn't know what get PC type does, I can get this information here. So it gets the PC type and returns it to the user. All right, and that again is real helpful for me. It says returns computer type, returns computer OS. All right, set computer equal, it's PC of type computer. All right, again, real helpful information here just by having the Java documentation made in front of me. Because if I just handed you this program with no comments, for example, it would be a lot harder for me to interpret. So let me just pop back over to Eclipse quick, and let's just say we had this computer program, but I did not have any of this documentation here, and you didn't know what this program was for. It could be very hard to try and figure out. Yes, you could play around with it, do some trial and error, and our programs are pretty simple that it wouldn't be very hard. But imagine you had a program that had multiple classes, had thousands of lines of code. If you didn't have this documentation, suddenly your job goes from being very simple to much more complex. And that is part of the reason why we want to make sure from now moving on, when we start writing our own methods, we're following this kind of standard Java doc practice, so that way we are making methods that are ultimately going to be better for us. Now, if we were, of course, just testing some code and working out, we don't need to go into this full Java doc, and I don't think you need to stress about. But if we were doing, let's say, something where you need to make sure all these things are addressed because you're pushing this out to production or you're going to publish this as an app, make sure your documentation is lined up, because it's not only going to be better for you to know what your program's doing, but it's going to be better if you decide to release that code for someone else to look at.